Welcome to The Disruption Is Now. Join us on this enlightening journey as we explore how AI is impacting our jobs, careers, lives, and the human experience. Each episode, host Greg Matusky will converse with visionaries and innovators at the forefront of AI, diving into its challenges, opportunities, and impact. So buckle up as we venture into the heart of disruption, and together, let's unfold the future.
So welcome to another episode of The Disruption Is Now. I'm Greg Matusky. I'm the founder and CEO of Gregory FCA. We're a national public relations agency. We do a lot of financial services. A lot of our clients come from all levels of the financial services industry, the whole ecosystem. And I'm excited today to talk to our guest because where money flows, I really believe technology follows, or maybe where technology flows, money follows. And we're here with Marc Butler. Marc Butler is the CEO and the founder of Wealth Management GPT. And it's really targeting financial advisories and how they can become more productive and efficient in the communications that they put out externally, perhaps internally too. But Marc, it's great to have you here. Did I sum that up right?
Yeah, perfect, Greg. Thanks for having me. Great to talk about disruption. I know you're really fond of everything AI, so looking forward to the conversation.
Did I miss something, Marc? Because 3 or 4 years ago, I feel like we had a similar conversation, not with yourself, but the industry, about robo-advisors and how that was going to take the job of advisories away. Is this Groundhog Day? Am I just hearing this again now?
Yeah, well, this is the same movie that's played for, I would say, probably 25-ish years, because you'll probably remember that what we used to call online brokers many years ago were also going to replace advisors, and people were scared to death, and it never happened exactly that way. So yeah, we're hearing a little bit of the same music again.
But what has happened is the industry has grown unbelievably as far as its assets under management and the number of people it employs. Let's talk a little bit about what you see and what your tools promise as far as running an advisory or becoming more effective and productive. So what is Wealth Management GPT?
Yeah, well, let me just give a little bit of background, which I think will help just, lay some context. So, over the winter, much like most people, I was curious about Chat GPT, and I just started spending time with it and then spending more time with it, and started thinking about, just given my background in wealth management and wealth tech, started thinking about how could this be used in the business of advice delivery. And so how could advisors use ChatGPT to help their clients and serve their clients effectively? So I started just going through a bunch of use cases and seeing what happened. And from there, I developed a series of templates with a small team of folks that really are focused a lot on things that aren't data or client data specific. And things that I thought were a really good entree for advisors to get a taste of AI. Things like, can AI help me write a blog? I'm an advisor and I'm not a writer. I've never written a blog before, but I want to be able to put my thoughts out there. And ChatGPT was great and is great at doing that. So Wealth Management GPT really exists as kind of an overlay, but very specific to the wealth management space, using terminology that we know to help advisors so that they don't have to worry about things like prompt engineering and having to go into ChatGPT. It really does all of that for them and makes it easy to get familiar with the effectiveness of AI.
So this really isn't on the data and analysis side. This is on the communication side, which I happen to be good friends with many RIAs and wealth managers, and many of them have very good minds when it comes to quants and mathematics. Not so much on the other side of the brain, which requires writing and creativity. So you and I, we we kind of are in opposition here because you're much more of a templated believer. You believe that templating generative AI is the real key to productivity and efficiency. Perhaps because I'm a writer, I'm more of a free spirits kind of soul where I just like to go clean into a prompt and create my own type of storytelling, which then is translated by the AI engine. So give me your thoughts about that and how advisors want to work.
Yeah, and I think that is the key, because I actually think, Greg, that you and I are alike. I want to go in and play around and kind of
I pity you. Mark, I pity you. If there's some similarities that could bring down your status, but go ahead. I'm joking.
Yeah. So, but advisors are different, as you know, and they don't necessarily want to play around, nor do they want to be technologists. And so, the idea of an advisor going into Chat GPT and doing what you and I might do just isn't realistic. And so how do we give them the benefit of everything that Chat GPT is capable of doing, but make it really easy? And so Wealth Management GPT was designed to be sort of a 3-step process to do things like I mentioned: create a blog, write a social media post, get ready for a meeting with a client and prepare an agenda and an outline, like things that they can do just by answering a couple of quick questions or entering some information, and they can get a result within 20 seconds.
Now, in the ecosystem of AI, there's a lot of debate right out there where ultimately this is going. And some people say this is going to be a generalized alpha intelligence. But very smart people are saying it's going to be an ecosystem of different AI tools that you'll turn to for specific use. So it sounds like you're a big believer in that verticalization, in that you may use code interpreter to do the analysis, right, to get data and to analyze it. Or then you might use a different tool like yours to do external communications. You might do a different tool. For instance, in our last podcast, we had a gentleman on named Sean Austin, who has a tool that allows analysts, financial analysts, to determine whether a CEO is stressed or deceptive in an earnings call. And part of our discussion was, really, this is going to take jobs away from people. This is something that no one's ever conceived of before. This is going to create more jobs in investor relations, in the C-suite, in advising CEOs, and on the investor side. All of a sudden, a CFA can give another piece of information, gain another piece of information in hand tweaking a portfolio. So you believe in tell me about that, where you fall in.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've built is a solution that's very specific to a need of a particular persona or personas in wealth management. But I agree with what you said at the beginning. There's a bunch of solutions that are designed to do very specific things. For example, there's a website builder now that's completely AI generated, and literally within minutes, you can have a website up and running, ready to go. Same with a CRM. There's an AI CRM. You can have a CRM tool up and running, ready to go. Those solutions are very good and very deep in those particular areas. And that's, we're focused in a particular area and on a particular persona.
And it's interesting, I did have experience in the templated world. Goes back a couple months ago. We were the first PR firm in the country to create an AI tool for news release writing. And we call it Write Release, and it's free online. Anyone can go to it. And it's very templated. It has 70 different flavors of news release, all of which, I don't want to say prompt, but all of which ask the user to enter information. And it's very specific. If you're doing a earnings release, or if you're doing a capital raise release or a new hire release. And I found in that process that it helps junior talent, let's say, stack their reasoning, right? It doesn't, It gives them the exact rumble strips that they have to drive within to get the information. It also created a more perfect product, because one of the big challenges we had when we started this process of automating news releases is that every quote read the same way from the CEO. We're excited to announce this new hire. I would just love once for a CEO to say, well, this was the best available talent we could find. He or she is just another guy. It's no big deal. And if we had had more time and a wider net, we could have found somebody better. But that's the whole excited. So we found that providing those guardrails, and one of the key questions we put in these releases is we ask the user to say, how does this fit with the vision of the company? All of a sudden, the news releases, the quotes within the news releases were gave a business case instead of these generalized, vapid responses that you see so often in generative AI. So, you could very well be onto something so much bigger than what I have thought, because I'm an artist. Don't you know that, Mark? I create. I don't need anyone telling me what to do, which I really don't believe deep down. But
that's right.
I think you're really making sense in doing that. Now, we're going to free up time in the workforce, right? We're going to make people more productive. What are we going to do with that time? Is that going to put people out of work? Is that going to allow us to dabble in things that might interfere with our profession, watch more Netflix, play more video games? What do you think? How is this going to resculpt the landscape of work in financial advisories?
I think it'll give them freedom to decide what to do with that time. And much like any technology solution that's better enabled financial advisors, what do I do with that time? I can spend more time with clients. Maybe I'm going to spend time on the golf course with clients. Maybe I'm going to hang out with my wife more. I think it gives the freedom to be able to make those decisions on what would I do with that extra time and that efficiency that I didn't have before. But I would share a real life use case with an OSJ that I do some consulting work with. And, their view is solutions like Wealth Management GPT are going to give them the opportunity to maybe book one more client appointment that day or one more prospect appointment that day. So it's enabling them to be a lot more efficient in their business and potentially serve a greater number of clients than they were able to before.
Now, is there a functionality that allows you to customize the audience so that maybe you're talking to an entrepreneur, right, of a quickly growing business, or the patriarch of a business who is planning for succession and retirement? How do you overcome that obstacle with regard to the audience?
Yeah, great question. Audience is really important. And I think back to something you were talking about before, I think what solutions like Wealth Management GPT are doing is, instead of the content or the writing being just generic and everyone's getting the same thing, I think it offers the opportunity to really direct it and focus at an audience or a persona. So in the case of Wealth Management GPT, we have a couple of opportunities that we give advisors. One is around generation. So if you're messaging to a particular generation, baby boomers, Gen Xers, Gen Z, millennials, there's actually a drop down that allows you to customize the response or configure the response to be geared toward that audience. Same with whether somebody is retired or semi-retired or still working. The content takes on a much different flavor for that audience. And there is some flexibility, though the templates try and, as rein things in a little bit. There is some flexibility when you actually enter the subject matter. You can enter, as you mentioned, things like, patriarch of the family. So there's some flexibility there if you're trying to get it directed at a particular person or persona.
And is there any way to specifically customize the message within that? So could you For instance, if you're going to the patriarch, could you enter the name of his or her children? That I guess would be a his if it's a patriarch, who also would be in the planning process.
Yeah, there's a couple opportunities to do that. One opportunity is in that window I was talking about where you're entering subject information. You could also, I've seen people put names in there or put roles of people in there. So it is open in that respect. And then the other place to do it is when the content gets created, it gets placed in the window just right next to the template. And so within that, much like in Microsoft Word, you have the opportunity to edit and change things in that window to make it more specific if you want to.
In the compliance part of this, how does that fit in?
Yeah, big part of it, probably the number one piece of feedback that we've gotten during the pilot is around compliance. And so there's really two answers to it. What we've done, and we just recently put this enhancement in, is there's a list of what are referred to as forbidden words that FINRA and the SEC don't like to see in client communications. And so we have prevented those forbidden words from ever showing up in our results. And we've instead replaced those forbidden words with words that are acceptable to the regulators. So that's one piece of compliance just that we're doing up front. And then secondarily, most firms, especially in the broker-dealer world, have review processes for client communications. Within Wealth Management GPT, you can take the result set, the content, you can take it right out of there, copy paste it into a review system or deliver it to a review system that your firm might be using.
So where do you think, let's step back 5 years from now, where do you think this is all going? I have broad opinions on the matter. I'm a very positive person when it comes to generative AI. I believe that the real purpose of communication is to spur understanding, and anything that spurs understanding can do a lot of good for the world, as we see, violence on the increase and war raging in Ukraine and in Russia. Much of that comes from misunderstandings, and I think this is a real tool. It's funny, I wrote a LinkedIn piece this morning or yesterday morning, and I was on originally I was on a committee to write a policy for a public relations association, and they wanted to ban the use of generative AI for translation. And I scratched my head and I said, why? And they said, oh, that would be pejorative. And I said, why? And they said, because it might put native speakers out of work. And I said, but look at the social good. It would allow a grandchild who has grandparents in Italy to communicate more easily. The value of that interaction and that social exchange and understanding has got to be more than the loss of a few jobs, which will be inevitable anyway, guys. I mean,
right.
You got to face the truth here. So where do you think it's going? And are you hopeful? Are you cautiously optimistic? Or where do you fall on the scale of ban it for the next 6 months to let's make our next mates AI assistants?
I would put myself in your camp. I'm very optimistic by the promise of AI. And, the truth is, and this as well, that there's so many things in our world today that are AI generated, and we just may not know that that's what's behind the curtain. And so we've been in an AI world for some number of years, let's call it 5 years. We just may not know that that's what's happening. But some of these tools are going to give a lot of power, if you will, or a lot of capabilities in the hands of people who need them. In your space, the marketing space, the creator space, there's so many amazing tools. People love Canva. Well, Canva's got a lot of AI in back of it. And look at what people can do with those tools, what people can create, people that might not be super creative can go into Canva, use those tools and create some amazing things. And I think that that's what I'm really looking forward to, is the opportunity for many people to be creators in different ways than maybe they are today.
Well, I'm on board with you. I think we're really short-sighted in a lot of that, and we only look at the threats and the risks. I was talking to my daughter, and she has a Bernese mountain dog. And I explained to her, AI could help you understand your dog. And she goes, how would that work? And I said, well, we think we're the alpha intelligence because we control our environment and we have this drive to learn more about the natural world. And we are in the areas where our awareness is focused. But your dog's awareness is focused somewhere else. And that dog, it's an alpha intelligence in scent. So it might know that you left the vanilla ice cream wrapper out on the kitchen island. And when you say, come here, they're thinking about that vanilla wrapper, ice cream wrapper, and not your command. So you don't understand why it's not behaving the way you want it. With AI, if we had a sensor that could pick up those scents and then a heat map on our phones that would show, he's thinking, my dog's thinking about the deer that ran through here 2 days ago and the rabbits that crossed over my backyard and the vanilla ice cream wrapper. We could actually spur interspecies understandings in a way that we can't do today. I know that's well off the financial advisory, but there are other findings and conclusions, I think, that are going to create more opportunities and are going to make us busier in the future than we even are today, which all technology proves to be the case. Marc, I'd like to thank you for being with us. It was a great conversation. I'll be looking forward to seeing as your product grows and is more accepted in the industry and can help people be more productive and profitable so they can afford firms like me.
That's right. That's right. Greg, thank you for the time. Great conversation. Look forward to staying in touch. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is a production of Gregory FCA. If you enjoyed our discussion today and want to continue exploring the transformative power of AI, please check out more episodes and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.